Hello everyone and welcome to Doodly Doo. I'm your host Matt Fry and it is just me today. Today's going to be a little bit of a tutorial actually. One of those last minute I thought I had a video scheduled and I didn't. So now I have this. So today's going to be a line art tutorial of sorts. I'm not proclaiming to be an expert, but I have a little bit of experience. And for anybody that doesn't have experience or just wants to try new methods, this might be the video for you. So let's go over the materials I'm using. A lot of people think you need some really expensive stuff. I just have this very inexpensive Bic mechanical pencil I did some of these with. Of course you can upgrade. This is the Pentel Graph Gear 500. You can use that. And you can see on this upper right one, I actually used a blue lead, and we'll get into that in a second. And also for our inking, we're going to go cheap and expensive. So I have just your standard pen that I got from the dollar store. And then after that, I have this nice semi-expensive Copic brush marker that we're going to do some inking with. Have these nice semi-expensive Tombow that I'm going to be using. We have the soft tip and the hard tip. I'll explain that more when I go to use them. And my favorite straight-on inking material is the Molotow black fine liners. All right, so first of all, how do we get from sketch stage to line art? Why do you need line art? So line art just kind of adds definition to your drawing, adds a little bit of depth and volume. It is also helpful when you go to color it with either an alcohol-based marker or colored pencils to keep its kind of form and shape. So I'm going to be using the Molotow for this first example here. Some people will just rough in the shapes they want and build up their line art from there. I like to kind of do a mostly finished sketch before I do line art because I have really shaky hands, and trying to do something permanent all at once is very terrifying to me. So you'll see these are mechanical pencil, and I have the blue here, which is hard to show up. This is called the non-photo blue. It helps, I believe, when you go to like scan stuff in, like to finish it up on the computer, it doesn't really pick up the blue that much, and it helps you clean up your line art. Also, I find it helpful for inking because you can tell where you've inked already versus something that's already kind of dark. You might miss some spots. The blue, it's very easy to tell the difference between a black mark and a blue mark. So this first example, well, we already know we want to make a duck, right? Or something that resembles a duck. So if I go in here and I kind of already know what a duck looks like, and I feel confident in it, and this is as far as I need to go. And I can make the line art. You'll have to forgive my drawing. I am drawing over top of a camera. I am not used to it, so I will make my excuses now. Voila, you have some kind of duck, or a semblance of duck. So some people can pull that out automatically. I cannot, as you just saw there. So I resort to this method. Bring back out my Molotow, keep everything nice and fair. So here I've already put all the shapes together I want to use. Kind of, this is like my warm-up sketch right now. But it allows me to already know where I'm going with the lines. And this is just the way I prefer to do it. And voila, you've got yourself a duck. And same principle goes for this. I fully sketched it out like this one, but it's blue, so it is quite drastic. And you'll also notice none of these ducks are going to look the same because I'm freehanding all of this. And I don't often draw ducks, so take what you can from this. Voila, a duck, and you can drastically tell the difference. You can tell I didn't mark here, I didn't connect this line, I didn't connect this line. It just becomes a little bit easier to tell the difference. Color in the eyes a little bit. Voila, all of our ducks. So now we're going to be getting into the different kind of inking. So let's go to these cupcake, mushroom, I don't know, whatever. We're going to be using our pen. Make sure it's not dried out. That would be, ooh. That is irresponsible of me. Yeah. Okay. So our pen is working again. So you can just go and do line art with a pen. Got these big dopey eyes. This, I'm not sure about this kind of look. I guess we'll just make these mushrooms. So that's easy enough. And then when you go to erase your line art, guess what? Your pen lines are still there. And you have a cleaner look. Except for me with my shaky hands and everything else. And on top of that, if I wanted to come in here, I just grab the first color. You can actually do your coloring with the ballpoint on there because it doesn't really interact with the alcohol in the markers. So that is the easiest way and the cheapest way to get your line art done. Put that back. Now I just look like I have a really sick mushroom. All right, and then we're back to one of the first methods I figured out, and there's lots of brands. You don't have to get the most hardcore. You can literally use whatever. Just some of them streak differently. Like these quote-unquote higher end fine liners will interact with alcohol differently. Ugh. Again, very rough. Drawing over camera, please excuse me. And then we can make our little make him a little bit more endearing to us. A little light. Okay. But as I said, sometimes these will bleed a little bit, so Molotov is one of the ones that doesn't bleed as much, but if you go over it enough, it can start to smear a little bit, especially if you go through a thicker area. All right. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and use my new favorites, the Tombow series. I'm going to use a combination. I'll use the hard and then the soft. So the hard just means that the pressure doesn't change as much. You have to exert more effort to get the line width to change. But these guys, you can actually push down a little bit. They have like a sponginess to them. So you can alter your line width in the middle of a line, or just to make some differences. You can already tell the difference between the eyes, the mouth, and the border there. And the soft one just means you can change it quicker. And it behaves a little bit more like a brush. So you can see already there's several different line widths through here. But on a good art day, these are my favorites. And for some reason, I saved the worst for last on those experiments is the brush pen. I'm not very confident in this one. I use this for texture mostly, but let's go to this more detailed image. It wasn't planned out very well. You can already see how I'm shaking. Oof. And this just kind of gives it a less rigid line, especially if you pull it off well. Yep. Not super happy that I did this to myself, but here we are. Yeah, I usually use this guy for texture, especially with how shaky my hand is. It allows me to create different variety of dots and textures using my natural shakiness. So yeah, my least favorite option for doing line art is the brush, but that's just my own little downfall. So we will go back to the Tombow for this one. Actually, you know what? This would be a good example to do. So we also have colored line art. So this is a Sharpie, it's a red Sharpie, it's a fine line. Sometimes you want to do a colored version. So we know this is an apple. Most apples are red. So doing a red line art will actually accentuate the coloring a little bit. It'll help it all fit in. And then I can do brown for the stem. Again, these are just Sharpies, and they work pretty well with Copics or other kind of markers. And we'll just fill in the rest with trusty old black lines. So we have a kind of grumpy apple. We don't really know what his deal is. Then if we wanted to go ahead and erase our construction lines, and we wanted to color him, whoops, bumped my light. If we wanted to color him, see, we keep our structure, but we can color on top of it. In this case, the reds kind of blend together. I picked a red that kind of matched it a little bit. We won't color this guy too in detail. I just wanted to get basics in. So that has a different look to it. Of course, finding good color fine liners is a little bit more difficult. Sharpie's a good one, but they cost a little bit unless you find them on sale. So next, I'm gonna go back to my Tombows for the cherries. Just give a slightly more fluid look. Again, I'm really just burning through this. Okay. So this guy looks quite pleased. This one seems a little suspicious. They don't know what to think about us. Now if you want to, I've talked about this before, you get a little whiteout marker, in this case a Sakura jelly roll, or any kind of correction fluid. You can go in on top of your line art, just give them a little shine, and you can also do kind of cleanup on your line art if you went too thick in some area or you applied a little too much somewhere. So if we want to give them one smirk, there we go. And of course, if you scan this in or something, you can altogether get rid of that. But this just helps you figure out where you want to color and everything. All right, and the last methodology that I'm going to use, especially for this potato. So I have 3 different sizes of the Molotow right in front of me. We're going to start with the absolute smallest one, which is the 0.05. This is a way to alter your line width to draw different attention to different details. So this is very slim, not a lot of attention being drawn to it. And what I used to do is I suppose we can do that. I would do all the line art in one size. By the way, this is like a potato. I don't know if I said that already. So that was our 0.05, and then we can go up to the 0.01 or the 0.1, which is a little bit thicker. And we can accent certain areas or fill in. And usually people will add depth to the outside of their image. So that way your eye is drawn there and then it's drawn inward. That's one method. Other people will just create a variety of line art widths within the image to kind of allow your eye to wander. Here's our 0.2. So if we want to do the outside, this is most common, I believe, with at least American comic book styles. They'll do a thick border line, and then everything else on the inside will be a little different. So we can already see how dynamic that is. We have the thicker outside, the semi-thick eyes, and then everything else is kind of thin. It is also common practice. Grab a So you can also tell that your line art gets a little buried when you put color on it. This goes for marker, colored pencil, anything. Again, not doing a great job, but so it's not quite as contrasting as it was with just the white. One thing we can do is actually just go back over it with our fine liners in certain areas and just kind of rejuvenate those bits to really make them pop. So you can already tell the difference, and then of course if we wanted to, we can go back over the border again in case we accidentally covered up some of that. And you can have asymmetrical line work, meaning if we went really thick down here, so let's just go a little bit heavier here, you can still have, even though it's part of the border, you can have that stay thinner, and it creates a dynamic look in your character, maybe not so much with just a potato. And of course, we go back over with our little correction marker, or whatever you end up using, and we can take out some of the bits we don't like. See, I came in on that eye a little too much, so I can bring that out. I can give him an inside. There we go. And then we can put a little sheen on their belly. And to go back to what I was talking about before about texture, we can use our little brush pen and just dab a couple little dots on there. It is a potato, so it's going to have some. And that's how we will finish up the potato. So hopefully you got something out of this. I know it seemed a little rambly and I didn't do a great job, but this is some of the different kind of line arts you can use, line art styles, especially for beginners who don't know where to start with their markers or their pens or their pencils or their other pen. So this is just a good way for you to figure out where to start and different things you can try. And of course, there's more ways than this to do it. All right, well, I will see you in the next one. Bye.